Hey guys, I'm going to walk you through how to do task 2, which is called Invitation to Write. So at this point you should have done task 1, which was the invitation to notice, and by that I mean you read through a mentor text and you figure out what makes it that genre. So hopefully you read the scene and you figured out that the genre of dialogue involves 2 or more people talking. They're talking in lines. If you want to get fancy, in Shakespeare, they're talking in verse, so they're actually talking like in a poem, but it alternates between characters and they're just saying stuff to each other. Sometimes there's stage directions to show what they're doing, and that's pretty much it. So it should hopefully remind you of what we did in the 10th grade when we wrote plays with Miss Clendenny. So this is just a callback to that. So to do this task, Task 1, based on your analysis of the mentor text, what are some distinguishing characteristics of dialogue? I just told you a bunch. What makes a dialogue different than a regular story or a poem or any other kind of genre that you read? So hopefully you remember some of those features. Next is a brainstorm. So here is where you're going to plan what you will write about. So for us, all of your multi-genre writing has to be about coming of age and growing up. So these can be a lot of the different things we've talked about: growing up as a boy, growing up as a girl, graduating from high school, maybe your research paper topic, right? Like we talked a little bit about when people should be able to drive, join the military, work, right? Any of those topics related to age, growing up, any of that works. So what do you want to talk about? Write that here. Next, based on what you saw in the mentor text, so again, a dialogue, how many lines of dialogue should you have? So I'm not expecting you to write a full play, so just write a rough estimate of how many lines of dialogue, how long, how many pages you think it's going to be. I'll tell you it's not going to be that much. And then how will the reader know you're writing a dialogue? What specific elements from task 1 will you incorporate? So again, how will we know it's a dialogue? How is it going to look, right? It shouldn't be a paragraph, right? So think about what a dialogue looks like and what you're going to do to show that it's a dialogue. All right, so here is the actual writing piece, which is task 3. So you're going to do an original piece of writing about coming of age, growing up, in the form of dialogue. So a conversation between 2 or more characters. And this is going to be based on what we saw in Romeo and Juliet. Remember, in Romeo and Juliet, the scene you read was the scene where they fall in love and they kiss and stuff, and then eventually Juliet learns that Romeo is a member of the family that is the enemy of her family, which is the whole problem in the play. So you should be doing at least 10 lines of dialogue and include at least 2 characters. So that means if you write a dialogue with 2 characters, each person should talk a minimum of 5 times, back and forth. If you need an example, I pulled the example from Romeo and Juliet. This is Juliet talking to her nurse. Just FYI, the nurse is sort of like the nurse just hangs out with Juliet. She's like her mentor, her teacher, her caretaker, right? So Juliet and the nurse are talking. Juliet's like, hey, who's that guy? The nurse finds out that it's Romeo and that he's a member of this family that her family hates. And then she goes, oh snap, I just fell in love for the first time with someone who is an enemy of my family. So this would be the topic of falling in love for the first time. So your dialogue can be about, I just listed a bunch of different options related to coming of age. Some of them are connected to your research paper. Some of them are ones we talked about in Netflix and Skill. If you can think of something else, I totally trust you, so go for it. Task 4 is basically you explain the central idea, the message of what you wrote, and then the reflection. So I hope it's straightforward. It's just a conversation about growing up. Think about what you did in 10th grade English, and hopefully it's pretty easy. And yeah, so good luck. Have fun. I'll talk to you later. Bye.